my paint extender stick. It just screws right into the bottom of your roller here, giving me full access. That's what I've been using for my ceiling. They make extendable ones a little bit more fancy than the old traditional wood ones. And if you are wondering, this again is the 9-inch premium microfiber 9/16 nap. That's for nice smooth finishes. Again, will be linked in the description box below. So first and foremost, we're gonna cut first. What does cutting mean? Cutting means we're gonna take our paintbrush, and I'll show you a technique about how to fill it in from the inside. So you're gonna be loading it up from the inside and then painting. It's gonna put clean lines around your border here. Now, I don't mind if I go over into this wall here, but I do not want to get into my ceiling. My ceiling is once again specialty ultra flat ceiling paint. And again, I still need to do one coat on that. As you can see, it blended into this wall from the ceiling, but that's fine. We're gonna be a little bit more sniper with our cutting on this one. We're gonna treat our primer exactly as we're gonna treat our paint. It's gonna prepare your technique. And because this is bare drywall that I installed, I need to do a primer and sealer specifically for bare drywall. If your walls are already painted, you can skip this step, but the same technique will apply to painting like a pro and just go straight into paint. And it's gonna be absolutely beautiful. So we're gonna cut in about 4 inches on every side. We're gonna take one wall at a time. Again, it's not that big of a deal if it slips up on another wall that you need to prime or paint the same color. If it's gonna be a different wall or an accent wall, then you need to cut that beautifully on your second go around. On our first go around, we're gonna leave a 1/4 inch. We're gonna show you that. We're gonna leave a 1/4 inch. And so our second cut is going to be smoother, getting it right up against that edge. So 4 inches all the way around whatever wall you're painting, every single wall, doesn't matter. Again, staying a 1/4 inch away from the ceiling because we're going to be smoothing that out perfectly on our second cut. And we're also going to cut 4 inches from the bottom here, and we're gonna go ahead and fill around our outlets. Go ahead and remove your outlets like I have here. You don't have to remove them like this. This is fresh electrical. That's why it's bare like this. But go ahead and take off the plate. Remove the 2 screws, pull off the plate, and so you'll just see the little plug inserts here and here, and we're gonna go ahead and paint around that. Cutting means using your paintbrush. Then we'll take our roller and we'll show you that. So first and foremost, let's shake up this paint. If you haven't shaken it up already, if you just brought it home from the store, it's good to go. I need to go ahead and shake this up. We're gonna put it in my pan. We'll load up my brush. It's a little easier if you have a small little brush bucket or whatnot, but we're simply going to be loading up our brush. Loading up our brush is we want to go ahead and get it inside the middle of the brush, and so that we have a lot of paint in there, but obviously we don't want to go and paint the wall with it like that. So once we're loaded up real nice, it's going to take you a few presses there. We're going to go ahead and wipe off the corner, and we're going to get the excess out. And so the outside obviously has a little bit of paint, but our paint is in the middle. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to start out a little bit, maybe about a 1/2 inch or so, working our way in, but leaving a 1/4 inch because we don't want to be jamming it up against the wall. Now, obviously that once again is for your ceiling, but for the purpose of this, I'm just going to show you right here. So we'll start in about a 1/2 inch and using the edge upwards like this. So once again, this is our cutting practice, and we'll go ahead and just get it up. Now it's going to take you a bit of patience and a bit of time. Obviously this is the slowest part. Rolling isn't that bad at all, but again, leaving a nice line. And this eliminates all taping. This eliminates plastics and all sorts of stuff. Obviously this is new construction, so it doesn't really matter if I drip on the floor, but patience and good technique will do the job really clean. Let me try to do this without blocking your shot here. You want enough paint on there though. So again, starting and then coming in, leaving about a 1/4 inch, and obviously I need more paint. Now you're gonna find, especially with the primer and sealer on drywall, this drywall and mud is gonna literally suck this primer up. So you're gonna wanna be generous, but not over generous. Don't like just gunk it up there. But when we're rolling you're gonna notice that it's just gonna literally suck it up. It's bare drywall that needs some goodness. Now notice that was a clean brush. So again, we were gonna continue to load up and get that edge just beautifully. Now obviously I'm gonna be doing this side as well, but this is just the tip for the sealing portion, because our next cut, our second one, we're gonna use that edge and we're gonna get real nice and close. Some of you guys might find your technique is a little bit different. I find myself being able to get a better line. I'm right-handed and I'm going left to right. Some of you might find if you're right-handed, your line will be a little bit easier that way. But the method behind this is once you remove the excess, then you want to start lower, again, that 1/2 inch, because what's going to happen is you're going to get buildup right there. And then you come back and you fan it up to a 1/4 inch. Now, obviously this is bare drywall. We're going to try to get as close as we can, but this finished ceiling -1 finished coat, I don't want to mess that up with primer again. That will show. Yeah, sure, my other coat will probably camouflage it, but we're trying to work on our skill set. So see how I'm going left to right? And I'm just matching up, and I'm using that point at the very top to get about a 1/4 inch, and then we will literally seal that in beautifully. Okay, this is where, don't whip-whap it around, especially if you have a finished ceiling, because it's going to splatter on there. So we're going to brush out the big brush strokes. If there's any paint that may be a little bit thicker than it should be, this smooths it out. Again, creating about a 4-inch line from our ceiling down right here. That's going to prevent, when we do roll, we do not want to touch the ceiling. All right, since I'm going to be primering this wall as well, corners like this are super easy. But here's the deal, when we get down to our bottom here, I want to be careful because I don't want to pick up any dust on the subflooring here. As you can see, I've already primered around my electrical outlet. And then what you want to do is, I'm going to have about 5-inch baseboards down here, so it doesn't have to be pretty, but I do want to paint that as well. Then I've done a 4-inch cut down the side here, 4-inch cut on the bottom, leaving about a 1/4 inch, like I said, because I don't want to get my brush dirty, and a 4-inch cut all the way around the electrical outlet right here. Again, those high baseboards will hide these exposed screws, which has saved a little bit of time as well, instead of mudding over those screws. So we can roll all this without worrying about interfering with this here. All right, a little bit has transformed since I last left you. Number one, the window is black. That video should already be up on the channel, how I painted and how to properly paint vinyl windows, whatever color you want. I've updated that window, looks stunning. We're gonna be finishing off some finished carpentry. Anyway, this is a painting video, so let's get back to it. The complete room is primered, and with that primer, I do wanna talk about that just for a split second. If you are primering drywall, again, bare drywall. At first, this primer in particular, the kilts that I've already linked in the description box below, and I've showed you in the video. So it starts off where it doesn't look like you have as much coverage as it should. And so you actually feel like you want to go back over it with 2 coats, but once it fully dries, it does a great job at covering and sealing. Again, you can still see a little bit of drywall mud through here where I sanded, but barely. A little bit right there, if you can see that. But it does a great job. You can see it in the corner over there. But overall, the whole entire room, including the closet, is primered. Even the side rails here, it's just a little bit of black tape on there. Ignore that. I'm going with a live edge underneath that black tape. So, rolling was super easy, but it gives you practice for the big shebang, which is your actual painting. Now, before we do actually paint, I got my hands on this. If you watch my ceiling video, I had this actual like motorized one, and it's just too heavy. It does the job, but it's just too heavy. This is so much easier, and it's not that expensive actually. Gator makes one, also Hyde, if you're familiar with that name brand as well. They're about the same price. I will link these in the description box below. This is a screw-on 360 radial sander. My sanding pad is just gonna literally stick right on. And again, if you have 220, 220 is better. 240, you know, I'm gonna live with it. It's a little bit finer. 220 if you have it, but I already had that, so might as well. So that's gonna lay on this. My pole is gonna screw in this here. We're not gonna go like all the way into the edges and start knocking walls around, but we're gonna get pretty close, and we're just gonna lightly just score, and we're gonna get those boogers off. Once again, anything that I can't physically see, everywhere, on the sides, on the closet, on the walls. And then we're gonna set ourselves up for painting, and I'm gonna show you the paint. All right, you saw me stop in the video, and let me show you what I have found. And this is why prime check is really important. And if you don't catch it, you'll probably catch it during your light sand. So I had a ridge right here of drywall that I did not catch. So what I did is I took my sanding sponge and I flattened that out. But the problem is now is some of my primer is gone. So instead of getting out my brush and my other primer and letting that dry real slow or slower, it takes about an hour or so, this will dry very quickly. And even though it says paint in 1 hour, it will be dry depending on your conditions by the time I get done sanding this entire room. It is late, so maybe I won't even get to paint tonight. Maybe I'll get to painting tomorrow. Regardless, don't drench it, but just give it a little spray. All right, so I shot it up a little bit there. Obviously that will dry, and my paint will cover up any primer spots that won't show. Let's go ahead and take a look at the sanding pad here after I sanded the whole entire wall. This 360 sander is really convenient. Just watch your pole. It depends how long your pole is. You don't want to be poking your walls and jamming at it. Again, don't jam your sanding pad over in the corner there. But as you can see there, very, very light sanding. I didn't pick up any big boogers at all. Over here on the side, it looks a little bit, so maybe I did or not. I'm not exactly sure. But let me show you, I thought I caught something over here. Yeah, it's way too hard for the camera to pick up, but there's just these little things that the sanding pad will go over and remove off your walls. And so now, it's a little tedious, but makes the job a lot better. I'm gonna go ahead and go all over inside my closet like I talked about with the sanding pad. And if I didn't already state it clearly, after primer, you're gonna do the sanding pad. After the first round of paint, you're gonna do the sanding pad. After you've put on your final coat, it depends if you have really good 1-coat paint. I'll leave that up to you. Some people do 2 regardless, but you're gonna sand in between coats, and then do not sand after your final coat because obviously the paint is up there and it is looking good. So do not sand after your final coat, but sand in between, but sand after your primer and sand after your first coat of paint. We are primed up. We are all ready to go. We have primed the whole entire area here. Now, I am going to be using the top of the line paint by Valspar. I believe you pronounce it that way. This is their reserve. This is their satin interior. And the reason I'm going with satin is because this is going to be the accent wall. I might try eggshell. We'll see how it works out. I bought a can of eggshell as well. I kind of like the flat look, but eggshell isn't too bad. It's not like semi-gloss or anything like that. So we're going to be using the satin on the back. The window is satin. Love the look of it. This says it's a 1-coat type paint. With that said, typically, if you don't have a 1-coat paint, after your primer, you're going to then, for your first coat, you're going to do your cutting all over the room just like you did with your primer. It's great practice. So we're going to go ahead and cut all the way around the outlets, get a 4-inch trim all the way around so then our roller doesn't bump into the walls or anything like that. I'm especially going to take my time on the cut above. I have finished the ceiling with 2 coats. I do not want to mess with the ceiling anymore, any nudges or anything like that. So I'm going to take my brush and be super careful cutting that entire top line all the way around the room. The edges and bottom don't really matter that much. unless I want to try eggshell on the sides. It's getting a little bit late now. What I might do is I might just paint this wall first, see what it looks like before I then determine if I want to go satin or eggshell on the corner walls. Anyway, enough about that, but that's just letting you know eggshell has a little bit more shimmer to it. Satin is more flat. Obviously, flat is completely flat. So typically, if this is really a one coat, which I don't know yet, I have not used their reserve before. Typically, you would roll first and then cut. Because I don't know, I'm just going to go ahead and cut first, then roll. And if I like the look of it, and if I do not need a second coat, no harm, no foul. But on the second coat, you should cut first and then roll second on your final coat. We'll see how this goes. So go ahead and fire up some music, fire up a podcast. Let me grab my brush. Also, real quickly, the color, if you are wondering, the ceiling is Benjamin Moore. Benjamin Moore paint is very expensive. Just this ceiling alone, I used about 1.5 gallons. That includes the closet as well with 2 coats. That cost me about 150 bucks. I still have a 1/2 gallon left. It's about 50 bucks a gallon just for ceiling paint. Awesome ceiling paint, by the way, if you haven't watched that video already. Painting is gonna be a different method. You're gonna back roll a little bit. It's a little bit different. You gotta go with the light. If you haven't seen that video already for the ceiling, make sure you watch that. With that said, I love Simply White by Benjamin Moore. Valspar had one called Swiss Coffee, which seemed pretty close. But I actually asked the gal at Lowe's where I got this. And if you're wondering, the eggshell is about $49 a gallon and the satin is about $52 a gallon. But Benjamin Moore top quality, you're looking at like $64, $63 a gallon, something like that. It's pretty expensive. Anyway, with that said, the gal at Lowe's has Simply White in her system, so she used the Reserve Base White, which is just ultra white. She just needed this as a base, satin. She looked up in her computer, she mixed it appropriately. So this is now Simply White color. Obviously different paints, but it's gonna be the same color as Simply White. All right, once again, microfiber 9-inch. We got my pole on the ground here. We have my tray full of paint right down here. We're gonna go ahead and roll it on in, just like the primer. The primer teaches you the technique, which is really cool. So again, we're gonna be using this side up against this edge. We're gonna start with this edge. And right now, go get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through this whole wall without any interruptions. We wanna keep that wet edge, but we're gonna do something a little bit different than the ceiling. Let's go ahead and screw this on here, and let me show you what we're gonna do here. So we can get a little bit better of an angle. I'm just gonna show you an example here with it dry first. Now that is wet, so I'm not gonna actually roll it on the wall, but what we're gonna do is I like to personally, because there's gonna be a lot of paint on there, it's great quality paint, it won't drip, but I like to start in about the middle section here. Now as you can see, all my cut lines here, so I'm not gonna get too close to that wall, which is awesome. So I'm gonna go right on that cut line there. I'm gonna start about halfway up. It's gonna be really a lot of paint. I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go back up, and then I'm gonna go down, but I'm gonna work my way over, not too sharp, not like this or anything like that, but I'm gonna go up, and then I'm gonna go down about a width, and then I'm gonna come back up. I'm gonna roll that real nice long strokes, and then I'm gonna come down, and then I'm gonna roll it back the way I came. It's called back rolling, and then I'm gonna end up over here, and then for the final push, I'm gonna start at the top and work my way down, starting from the top, going down to the bottom. So you go up, you go down at a slight angle, you go back up, and then you roll it, you back roll it for a nice even spread, and then this will now become our wet edge, and we'll go ahead and do the same process over again. Enough talking, let's go ahead and show you. see, it is dry, and if you see the wet edge, obviously that we doubled up, and so that's going to dry this. You're going to get maybe some steeper lines, someplace it should blend in just beautifully. Again, this is supposed to be one coat paint. We will see how it dries. Just like the primer I used, it looked really thin until it dried, and then once it dried, it turned out beautiful. So let's go ahead and see how this dries. I kept my edge wet the entire time, even as I back rolled it, started from the top, worked my way down to the bottom, finished that section, then went over with a fresh roll on the wet edge, did the same thing, back rolled it, top, bottom, finished it up, no clumping, moved on to the wet edge once again. It looks good. Let's see how it dries. Now, if you are proceeding forward in the same day, I'm actually not going to. It's pretty late, it's about almost 10:30 at night right now. So I'm gonna call it quits for the night. Typical paints dry within about an hour or so. And so once this is dry, we are gonna be sanding it with our 360 sander once again, scoring it with 220 all the way across, looking for any boogers, but also getting that rough paint smooth for our second coat, if you are doing a second coat. If this looks beautiful tomorrow, I won't touch it. I pre-sanded after my initial primer. If you are moving on to a second coat, after it is dry, once again, sand it with 220, and then you're gonna cut first all the way around your electrical outlets, your 4-inch square, all the way around the corner, down at the bottom as well, and then you're gonna apply your second coat, same exact method, let it dry, no need to sand after that second coat. Now here is a great example about a big window right here. Okay, as you can see down here at the bottom and up on the top here. Never change directions of your roller. I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on that wall as I'm going to do on this wall, but obviously smaller sections here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over here on the left. I'm going to roll it just like I did this wall here. When you come down to the bottom, you're going to work it in a small section. I'll take this section differently. Very small little rolls, back rolls, same exact thing, top to bottom. Never change your direction left to right. We want to start top to bottom, and we're going to roll the same direction. Just because this is like super narrow, don't switch around your brush. You will notice that in light. We're going to keep it top to bottom the full way, obviously until we hit the area right over here to give it a nice finish. Now, as you saw over here on this section, that cut line kept me off of the ceiling. I still like a little bit of nice texture, so I got up there a little bit, but not too heavy. I did not want to interfere with that finished ceiling product. It's beautiful, and this is going to look stunning for our accent wall. All right, real quickly, I'm going to go into the future, and then we're going to be right back. But I do want to talk to you about a little mistake that we had. It's not that big of a deal, but it might save you a little bit of work in the long run. The color you see right here, now I did a little touch up right here, but the color you see right here is satin. Satin has a very dull shine to it. I was mistaken. My window that I did satin, my black windows you can see right over here in the corner, absolutely stunning in satin color. But this particular wall, I do not want satin. Satin does do a lot of really added benefits. If you have a smaller room, it'll make it kind of look larger. It's very durable for high traffic areas like kids' rooms, laundry rooms. Here comes my puppy right here. This is Bria. Say hi, Bria. Maybe like rooms where you're just beating it up a little bit, bathrooms, etc. Hi, baby. Okay, I'm gonna feed you in a little bit. Where are you going? I'm going to feed you a little bit. Satin is very nice, very washable. It's a great paint, but I don't particularly want it for this wall. And again, it's super durable, but in certain lights, satin paint will show any little discrepancies in the wall where flat or eggshell will hide that a lot better. Because I'm doing an accent wall back here, I want flat paint, not eggshell and not satin. Satin you could use for your other walls. I'm gonna put it to use, I'm not gonna just junk it, it's expensive paint. But with that in mind, I went back to Lowe's. This is the one I got, the satin Valspar Reserve that they turned into Benjamin Moore Simply White color for me. As I went back to Lowe's, talked to the paint guy, Sherwin-Williams is discontinuing, at least with Lowe's, they're discontinuing their top tier Infinity paints. They're actually pulling them off the shelves, bringing in whatever's replacing their top tier. That's just what companies do. Doesn't mean this one's bad, it just means that they're pulling Infinity and bringing in something new to keep things fresh, I guess. Anyway, with that said, right below the camera, you can't see it, but I actually picked up 50% off. So the guy was talking to me, he's like, hey, listen, we're trying to move this paint off the shelves. By the end of the month, we're bringing in our new Sherwin-Williams, so I can give it to you for 50% off. There was no clearance tags, there was no sale tags. He was just giving me an insider information until they do probably put those tags up. I'm probably like half a week or a week early with his kindness, being able to give me a great deal. Anyway, definitely thankful for the Lord for that blessing right there. So I got a 5-gallon right below you, 50% off for $104. I got these for about $25, $26 a can. These are actually satin. The one below you, 5-gallon, is flat. So I'm going to use satin in the high traffic areas, bathrooms, hallway, and I'm going to use the flat for this wall and probably some other walls as well. So with that said, most people do eggshell for all their interior walls, satin for high traffic areas like I just talked about. I personally like flat hides, especially with this window off the corner right here. This is a massive like 96-inch window across, brings in a ton of light into my master bedroom. And if I have any discrepancies on the wall that I didn't catch in prime check with my drywall, I want to hide that, and flat will hide that. Flat will not be as durable as satin, won't be as washable, etc., but still, great paint nonetheless. Okay, now that you guys know that I goofed on that, I was going to have to do another coat anyway. The Valspar did not receive a one-coat finish that I thought it was going to do. The Infinity by Sherwin-Williams did a better job, at least with the cutting. I'm not sure if the camera can pick this up. This is the cutting with the Sherwin-Williams, and it looks like it got great coverage, better than rolling on the Valspar right here. So I need to go ahead and turn satin back into flat, and how we're going to do that is we're going to do it the same way we initially did our painting, or we're going to do our painting. We are now going to sand this once again, 220, 240. We're going to go ahead and cut once again all the way around. And then we're going to roll on our flat and let that dry. And if you are going to be fixing anything that you missed in prime check, use this dry deck spackling. No prime needed on this. That's what I did to that little spot right there, which shadows were picking up this little edge on the mud that I didn't catch. So I flattened that out with this here. I'll link this in the description box below once again as well. Goes on pink, dries when it's white. I used 240 sandpaper on it. It's beautifully flat now, gorgeous, and we're just going to paint right over that. Alright, sanding is done, cutting is done and dried. Now we're going to go ahead and roll this wall. I did cutting last night, so the whole entire room is already cut, ready to roll. It makes it super easy instead of just splitting it up by walls, etc. So we're going to go ahead and roll the entire room. Obviously, like I've stated several times, my ceiling is finished. I don't want to nudge that ceiling. It's perfect with Benjamin Moore ceiling paint. Love it. Let's get to rolling. Oh, by the way, painting and music or podcasts, definitely a must. Get your phone out, get your Bluetooth speaker, whatever you want to do. Put on a good podcast, put on some good beats. Definitely helps the time go. think it's much better than the Vascular Reserve, which is supposed to be one coat. The Infinity is supposed to be one coat as well. And I agree with one coat on the Infinity. I'm super pumped. I got that at a discounted price where I'd probably go back with Valspar and pay full price. So thank you to the guy at Lowe's, if you ever see this, for giving me that 50% discount. Anyway, this is the primer and sealer right here. This is one rollover with the Infinity Paint Sherwin-Williams. I'm getting a lot better coverage than the Vascular in my personal opinion. This is my cut line. Cut line looks great as well. Did that last night. So I'm very impressed with the Infinity product. All right, real quickly, I want to discuss some faults that I had in my wall that I'm fixing before I get any further into the project. Number one, if you missed it during prime check, I don't know how I missed it. I guess my primer was so flat, I didn't catch it. Make a long story short, this thin line you see right here, now I actually still need to sand this portion here. This thin portion has already been sanded down here, as well with this side and this side. Now that is beautiful there. This, unfortunately, was a little bit of a speed bump with my drywall mud, meaning that you could see the little hump here. So I fanned it out and flattened it out that way with the Dex spackle. Here, it was where my flat joints came together with my drywall, and I didn't fan it out once again as far as I should have to the left to cover up that drywall factory dip where it joins together. It's very slight, but because my window is so big, the light coming in the morning and afternoon, you could see it. This is going to be an accent wall again, but I didn't want weird shadowing. Anyway, aesthetics, some people can live with it, some people can't. No primer DAP, dry Dex right here. That was about 10 bucks or so. No priming needed. Now the unfortunate part, I'm going to have to paint the wall once again. So it's dry now, it went on pink, now it's white dry. I'm going to go ahead and sand that one. Then I'm going to go ahead and use my 360 Gator sander once again over the whole thing. And then we're going to cut and roll again. But we want it to be nice. This is the master bedroom. That's the main wall. Big window, a lot of light. We need to make it look good. Also on a side note, I caught a couple things right here as well. I wanted to put another coat on this as well. Sherwin-Williams did a fantastic job. But since I was already rolling, sure, I'm going to be a little bit too tedious with my perfection, but I did a couple areas right here. It's all sanded down, ready to go. Since I was going to be rolling anyway, might as well roll it and make it look real nice. So if I haven't got the shot of the window there, again, monstrous, like 96 inches across by 46 inches or 98 by 46, 96 by 46, something like that. Anyway, it's in the high 90s lengthwise, and it's just massive. It brings in amazing light, and I absolutely love it. By the way, I got that free off the free Craigslist section. There was a guy that gave that to me for free. I dig it. I bought the exact same one for about 300 bucks for my living room. I do want to show you a tip as well. Let's say you're going out to lunch, let's say you're breaking for dinner, whatever it might be. Then you want to go ahead and wrap your roll individually with saran wrap. I have wrap around my roll, and then I have a sheet over the top of my paint tray. That's going to keep my roll nice and moist, and that's also going to keep my paint in my tray from drying out as well. Not to mention the paint right up in here is so thin that would dry out really quickly, especially with my forced air, which I have covered up right now. You can also do that with a paintbrush, and it's probably been an hour and a half and the paint is completely fine. We're gonna go ahead and obviously clunk it up a little bit more, get it stirred up a little bit, get it nice and fresh. And we're gonna hit this wall for one final pass. It actually is pretty much perfect right now, but after a few repairs, we're gonna hit it and we're gonna make it even better. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is now complete. The painting has been fully finished, done. I'm not messing around with anything. Again, it took longer than expected because I did not catch some of those things during prime check. So they're fixed. Back wall looks stunning. Closet looks stunning. Walls look stunning. I'm thoroughly impressed with the quality of the Sherwin-Williams paint in my opinion, Valspar or Sherwin-Williams, I'd go with Sherwin-Williams. The only thing I did notice, that's for like complete coverage. Again, it could have been the primer I used, I'm not exactly sure. Now I did notice out of the Valspar and the Sherwin-Williams Infinity, the Infinity was a little bit more drippy for some reason. Off my brush. Off the roller, no, but off the brush it was. Even with slapping the remainder on the side of my thing, I'm doing my cut lines and it's dripping off the bottom of my brush. That didn't happen with the Valspar. Not that big of a deal, but I did get some drops on the ground, so just something to keep in mind. Overall though, 50% off of Sherwin-Williams Infinity, stoked on that. I don't see any brush strokes from here. Maybe if I got 6 inches, I'd probably see some brush strokes from my cut lines, but I don't see any from walking around like this, even with this light coming through the window right now. So I'm thoroughly impressed. I went well and beyond. So guys, if you wouldn't mind, please hit that thumbs up button on the video. It helps the channel and the YouTube algorithm. I will have the paint and the tools I used in the description box below. Also subscribe if you like more videos like this. Watch my ceiling paint video. It's a different process. You have to go with that process to make it look streamlined. Turned out fantastic. Also watch my video about how to paint that large window. It's a vinyl window. I painted it black from beige, and I'm going to be doing all my white vinyl windows as well in the house. Not to mention, we got a full remodel here. You're going to want to subscribe. Also, I do review videos as well for different products, so stay tuned for those videos. Your links and tools, again, are below. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next video. My name is Chris. Take care for now. Bye-bye. Don't let the party stop, guys. Hit one of these videos. Continue to watch. We'll see you soon.